with some green stuff on the table. I'm gonna wait for us to load in. Take a deep breath. It's Monday. It's Monday, it's Monday, it's Monday. Cool. Welcome to our Instagram live that we've been doing for 13 days straight now. Time has flown by. When I first started out, like, hey, we should do this every single day. I didn't quite imagine myself being at day 13. Like, I knew we'd be here for a while, but did I know we would go all the way to day 13? Yes. Did I actually envision it in my mind? Not really. So here we are, day 13 of our daily tea practice, our quarantine practice, our social tea distancing practice. I mean, whatever it is, welcome to day 13. I'm really happy to be here with you guys. I hope everything's okay with you guys too, wherever you might be. Today is a Matcha Monday with a hashtag. Can it be Matcha Monday without a hashtag? I'm sure it can, but that's how I decided today's matcha. We're only 2 days away from the Pu'er challenge, so I figured we could do something, you know, that we love and will miss during the next 2 weeks of Pu'er practice. Of course, you know, we will be still drinking matcha at home, but our focus will be on Pu'er for the next 2 weeks. So today we can do matcha. Cool. Saying hello to, oh goodness, Amy, you're gonna let me say your business name. Le Peu de l'eau. Amy, bonjour. Or bonsoir in your case. Tea Traveler. I see One Man's Tea Journey and Joe from Fish Anywhere. How's it going? And A Sulaiti. Hi from Las Vegas. Good afternoon. Footsteps Around the Globe is here too. Welcome to our tea practice today. Got some matcha going. For those of you who didn't see the story, our focus today is testing how matcha works at different levels of temperature. So we'll be testing at 60 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Celsius, and around 90, maybe a little bit higher degrees Celsius. And then let's do that in Fahrenheit. So that's 140 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 167 degrees Fahrenheit, and like 194 degrees Fahrenheit. Goodness. Basically, pretty cool, relatively warm, and then like near boiling. Why I wanted to do this is because for a long time I actually went down the middle around, let's say, 75 degrees Celsius, maybe 80 degrees Celsius. I was using water that was quite cool because a lot of the information that we get about matcha is to use cooler water. And I actually teach matcha classes here in Las Vegas, and I do the same thing where I actually have typically encourage people to use cooler water. And I think for most cases it's a safer option, but then my friend Elodie Kayama, who is a tea practitioner over in Japan, I think she's going back to Europe soon, but she told me that in their Chanoyu tea practice in Japan, the traditional kind of like they learn from like the people who practice matcha for a long time. For those of you who haven't done matcha study before, matcha is crazy. They have these schools that teach specific kinds of ways of doing matcha. It's almost like with martial arts, there's like Shaolin style, there's Tai Chi, there's Bagua, there's different kinds of styles of doing martial arts, even within the same kind of like umbrella martial art. With matcha, it's the same way. Each school has its own way of doing things, but she practices in Japan, and they actually use boiling water off the, they call it the kama, the kind of like the water receptacle in the room. Basically what that means for us is that this whole time in the West, we've been accustomed to like, oh, green tea is always supposed to be brewed with cooler water, especially matcha, because it's so delicate, it can get very bitter. Turns out if you have really good matcha, you can actually up the temperature a little bit, if you'd like to. The result is different. It's not always going to be better for you subjectively because everyone has different tastes. But we can test out today what we think we like in the taste of this matcha using the 3 different levels of temperature that we described here. So let me get started by prepping the experiment. I usually don't pre-prep before you guys come in because I want to do it with you guys. Preheat everything. As usual, We have 3 identical bowls here that we'll be using. Probably the one thing I can't control is how tired I get when I whisk matcha. It's gonna be 3 different bowls. In the Japanese tea ceremony, typically there's a host who whisks bowls for everyone individually. And yeah, they got some forearms going. I'm pretty, you know, I don't really got forearms. I whisk for myself and I whisk for Steven. And even in my matcha workshops, I have other people do the whisking for themselves. So I'm like, you practice, guys. This is great. You know, all I gotta do is watch you, make sure you don't mess up the matcha too much. So we'll see. That's going to be the only difficulty. Is gotta whisk this one, I gotta whisk this one, and we'll whisk this one. I will try to keep it pretty stable, so I'm not gonna go ham on this one and then kind of go limp on this one. Should be good. All right. So preheating these, and then I've weighed out 2 grams of the matcha we'll be using today. This is Mia Matcha. It's an organic matcha from my friend Salvador in Mexico. His shop is sinensis.mx in Tijuana. Really, really good stuff. Look at that brilliant green color. When you have matcha, that's a hashtag no filter matcha right there. It's like neon green. It's crazy. Look at it. It's so beautiful. Look at it. Look at it. And it smells really, really good. So I'm gonna weigh out another 2 batches of that because we want to use the same amount of powder for our experiment here. Again, we'll be doing cooler water, relatively warm, and then pretty close to boiling. That's 60 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Celsius, and then 90, maybe a little bit higher degrees Celsius right there. Hope y'all who use Celsius are happy that your American friend is seeing the error of her ways for many years. I feel so bad. I was like thinking about it on the way home today from Stevens. We were like, man, the only people who use Celsius on the Discord server especially are us, like Vegas people, and like, you know, all of the Americans. Everyone else from like Australia, from Brazil, Canada, France, Italy will be using Celsius. So we've made it a point over the last couple weeks to try to change that. We're trying to be scientific, right? And Celsius is the language of scientists in terms of temperature. What are we doing using Fahrenheit? That's not fair at all. Ha 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 ha. So now we're all in metric. We weigh out our experiment in metric. This is grams, so I'm weighing out 2 grams of matcha. Or trying my best to. Just a little bit more. Perfect. So 2 grams. No! Okay, there we go. 2 grams. Got another 2 to do here. What are you guys drinking today? I'm seeing Sonia for Repair and Henrique. How's it going? Henrique, I've been doing all this French work lately with our French-Canadian friends. You need to teach me how to speak Portuguese too. So last one will weigh out. We're still preheating the matcha bowls. I have my whisk kind of getting primed right here. Steven's on Yun Ceramics saying he's having some matcha. Of course, Steven. Of course you're having matcha. You're right beside me. You're so dumb. This matcha smells amazing, by the way. I just recently opened this tin up and we hadn't had like a fresh matcha tin all winter. Okay. And I'm trying not to breathe too hard. You know matcha, it's like if you breathe too hard, all the powder goes flying. Trying my best. There we go. Cool. This is 2.04. You're not going to kill me, right? I think it's close enough. Yeah. All right. If it wasn't clear enough, I'm not a official Japanese tea practitioner, nor have I been, you know, I've never formally trained under a Japanese tea practitioner, never taken a formal class or anything like that. It's important for me to disclose that because of all the kind of like practices in tea, you know, Taiwanese, Chinese, Indian, the Japanese tea ceremony with matcha is the one with the most kind of stringent, structured, actually established schools of thought there. So there's a certain way you want to put down like your tea scoop and a certain way you want to prime your whisk and a certain kind of clothing you need to wear, etc., etc. It's not always like that, but there's certainly a kind of a rhythm to it that clearly is not very rhythmic, am I? So what I do learn about matcha, I've learned from, you know, more tea producers and other people in the community. So when I teach my classes here in Vegas, we do like a modern matcha. I make sure that we, you know, explain that. And I tell people, certainly if you want to do the traditional, very deep diving, lifelong study of Japanese tea culture, Japanese matcha tea ceremony, you can certainly do it if you find a school. So I'm kind of like the gateway, you know. All right. It works though, you know. I've had students who have studied with me at the matcha workshop before who are of Japanese descent, that they come from a Japanese family, and they're like, oh, you know, I never wanted to go to a Japanese tea ceremony class because it was too rigid for me. That's why I was so excited to take it with you, because we knew it was going to be an environment where it wouldn't be like there'd be all these rules and stuff. We could just focus on making the tea. And that's not to say it's a bad thing to practice Chanryu. I don't mean that by any means. I learned a lot from people who actually learn it properly, you know, formally speaking. But there's just different approaches, I think. And it's good to be open to all of that. From informal to the informal to the tea curious to the not tea curious. I mean, if y'all don't want to be curious, that's okay by me, but that's boring. Okay, we will set the kettle to 60 degrees Celsius for the first one, and then I'll whisk that, and then we will set the kettle again to 75 degrees Celsius, we'll whisk that, and then we will set it again to 90 degrees Celsius, and then we'll whisk that. Sounds good? For my friends Joe from Fish Anywhere and Sophie, who's from Las Vegas, that's going to be 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 167 degrees Fahrenheit, and 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Meaning, not that hot, and pretty damn hot. Not that hot, pretty damn hot. Okay? Cool. Any questions, let me know. Let's see what you guys have been drinking today. Amy's been drinking Dian Hong Songzhen from Tea Joint. Ooh, the Tea Joint orders. And then Steven's been drinking matcha. Not yet. We haven't made it yet. And then Joe has been drinking Wild Tree Purple Moonlight White Tree from Jingu. You've got all of the hard-hitting words there. Wild, Purple, Moonlight White. And Jingu is a pretty impactful origin too. I do like Jingu tea quite a bit. Okay. Let's get my wits together here. For those of you joining in, we're going to test this matcha, same weight, same person, same preparation style, around the same amount of water. I'm going to count the beats as I pour the water in to kind of try to keep the water more consistent. And we will test out these matchas here. So, is there anything I'm missing? The mise en place, you know? Okay, I think we're good. They're all preheated. Okay. So I'm going to first kind of filter the matcha through this sieve. I wanted to show you guys how we set up these experiments so that you guys can feel like you can do it at home too. It doesn't take that long, you can do it. I know I can show up all prepared with like the stuff weighed out, the stuff filtered out already, but I wanted to show you every single step of the process, just so if you have any questions about why we did it the way we did, you can ask me. If there's something that's kind of wrong with the experimental design, you can tell me. Full disclosure. It's like a peer review, but Instagram. We're so scientific. Hashtag scientific. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag, what else is a good hashtag for that? Science girl. Hashtag, I don't even know. I'm so bad at this. So 2 grams in there, and then 2 grams here. And then while I do this, Delphine, I will entertain you with the French lesson that I got this morning from Amy. How does it go? Okay. Bonsoir, ici Rie. Aujourd'hui, je bois un thé vert, un matcha. du Japon. Oh my god. I don't know yet if it's gonna be good, but hopefully, c'est très bon. Is that okay? God, I'm sweating bullets. Whew. Steven's scared too. He's not even trying. I'm the only one who's trying to figure it out. Amy or Delphine, whoever's still here, rate my my French. Oh my goodness. I'm like sweating really hard right now. It's so funny. Whew. Yeah. So yeah, Henrique, Portuguese next. I don't speak any other language fluently. I speak English alone. I grew up in the Philippines. I didn't speak Filipino growing up because I went to an American school there. Took Chinese a little bit, took Japanese a little bit, took the native language of the Philippines, Tagalog a little bit, but, you know, yeah, it's a struggle. I'm not like you guys who can speak 2 languages. So I don't think it's that impressive because y'all can already speak 2 languages. I'm like a toddler learning how to speak other things. But that's pretty high level for an American person, right? Okay, hold on. I need to make sure this is the right temperature. Okay. So this is our experiment setup. We've sifted the matcha, okay? We've sifted the matcha just so that there's no clumps in it. You can see from the original tin that there are quite a bit of clumps in the matcha, and that's normal for matcha to do that. It's just static. So there's nothing wrong with this matcha here. As you can see, just beautiful, beautiful green, okay? But it's kind of clumpy, so I had to like scrape it out. So by doing the sifting, it's kind of like for those of you who bake at home, this allows us to get all of those clumps out, okay? So everything's all sifted out. And then we will start with this one. You guys ready? I've got my primed whisk over here. This has been primed up, so nice and soft. It's my old whisk, so it's kind of like janky looking. It's losing a lot of tines already, but that's okay. Steven and friends, can you help me make sure I don't over whisk something? I think 1 minute's enough for me to whisk something once we start like prepping it. So this is also a way for you guys to see how I make matcha at home. So first thing I do is for me to kind of make a paste out of the powder. Notice me also ignoring the comments about my language practice because I'm really embarrassed. And I'm sure it's almost like, oh, like when you praise a dog, oh, you're so great, sitting down, good dog. I don't feel like it's impressive at all, but I'm pretty proud of myself. But, okay, I make a paste. Oui? C'est très bon? Paste? Yeah? Is it really good? I don't know if it's delicious yet. We'll see. And then from here, what I do this paste for is so that it helps me kind of incorporate all of the dry powder into more like liquidy form. So that when we start whisking, it's not like some of them are like, hey, we're wet. And then the other ones are like, wait, guys, wait, we're still dry. Everyone's all nice and primed up already, okay? And then I promise I'll read your comments in a little bit, but I gotta get this going.
You want a 1 minute?
1 minute, yeah. Ready? No, after I start whisking, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna... 3 turns of that to kind of make sure I have the same amount of water, and then 1 minute. Let's go. Or just tell me how long I take. We need a new whisk, Steven. I think you're right. There's like this giant hole in my whisk just from being used so much. This is like a 3-year-old matcha whisk. It's pretty insane. 3, almost 4 years old. I don't have any other whisk. So this is a giant hole. Unfortunately. I think I'm going to need 2 minutes. Just because of this hole. It's so pretty! It smells so good. So we're just kind of whisking in the W shape, back and forth. And then once you're happy with the foam, I'm not that happy with it yet. I think we just need a new whisk, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna slow down.
10 more seconds.
Good.
50.
Okay, I'm gonna slow down at 50 seconds. And then right at the minute, I'm gonna go up. Right, Stephen? We good?
And 1 minute.
Okay, perfect.
Nice.
So that's our matcha. Should we drink it now? I think we should, right? While we wait for the other thing to boil. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have a sip of this while it's still made. And then at the very end, I'm gonna keep all of them and try them at the same time, if that makes sense. Okay?
You want it set to 75 now?
75, yeah. Oh, wow, that's so good. Wow, holy crap. The matcha, not my whisking. Oh, that's so good. I need to be careful not to finish all of that. So this is extremely smooth. It's got an almost like kind of edamame thing going on. Like, almost like soybean. You know, it's delicious, it's very sweet, it's very soft. Quite full. There's barely any bitterness, just a tiny bit of tang, I think, you know? And I'm also curious to see how the temperature will change the way the foam shows too, because I'm going to try to whisk the same way, so we'll use around a minute of time. I'm going to try to... I whisk matcha pretty similarly every time, so I think we should be able to test also how the temperature changes. I am getting more tired as time goes on, because I'm a little wimp, I don't do this as much, you know, but I think we should be okay. Yeah? I think we're good. Let me say hello to all our friends who just came in. It's T-Babe. Sorry I didn't catch you earlier. Henrique says that French and Portuguese are similar. Thank goodness. And Amy's being really nice to me because I probably said something wrong, but I did it while making tea. That's not even a good thing. I just did it to hide, so I didn't have to look at the camera while doing it. Haha. And then Jackie Allen, Lily Duflove, and the Airy G Show. Welcome to our tests. We've just finished whisking the 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit matcha. This is about the temperature we use for gyokuro, so it should be extremely smooth, extremely sweet, extracting more of the umami, I guess. But we'll see. We'll see what the tastes go. The aftertaste is gorgeous. Really, really good. Steven's making faces. That's gross, yeah. Steven. Don't do that. Also, your teeth are green. Are my teeth green? No, they're not. Weirdo. Green teeth guy. Delphine says, I would love to test side by side your technique and matcha with no paste step. Interesting. Okay. I would like to try that too. I actually didn't test if the paste made a big difference. I just learned that technique from someone and I'm like, that sounds like a good idea. I did it and it worked. I'm like, okay. That's my method from now on. Okay.
On tomorrow's live.
Okay, on tomorrow's live, right? We have so much we have to do before the Puer challenge. It's coming up so soon. Who's excited? Who's not? I'm excited, but I'm excited in the okay, like first day of school kind of way. Okay, so 3 counts. No, make the paste first. Gosh, who trusted me to do tea science when I'm so all over the place? This is why I do it though, because it forces me to focus and not be so freaking anxious. So now the only thing that can make me anxious is language lessons and trying to use my language lessons on stream. Oh my goodness. So first step again, we're making the paste just to make sure the powder is incorporated well. I see Uni Tea Store, Jeffrey, is that you? I see Jess and the Rabbit of Tea. How's it going, guys? We're doing the second bowl of this matcha experiment. This is the 75 degrees Celsius, 167 degrees Fahrenheit one. Okay? So three turns. So 1, 2, 3. Good. Should be about the same amount.
Ready?
Yeah, ready. So 1 minute whisk. We're gonna do 50 seconds of this kind of like trying to make the foam whisking. I'm sure there's a name for it in Japanese. I really wish that I learned more about Japanese tea and tea terminology and stuff like that. I'm learning a lot from me.mar. Her name is Marjolaine. If you guys are interested in learning more about Japanese tea, she's incredible. Highly recommend learning from her. She's talked a lot about different tea terminology in Japan I've never heard before. Just from her kind of spending time in Japan on the tea farms. She's pretty incredible. Never met her in person, but I'd really love to. I could sound more enthusiastic about it, but I'm trying to whisk this matcha. Steven, what time are we at?
45.
Okay, I gotta slow down soon.
8,
Slow down.
9, 50.
Okay, so slowing down. Ooh, the foam does look better. Deuteronis. Okay. We almost there, Steven?
8, 9, 1 minute.
Simple. Okay. Finished. Okay. Wow, that looks better. That foam looks pretty dope. Yeah, for those of you wondering about the temperature test here, it's not just about taste. I forgot about that. So Amy, thank you for reminding me. Supposedly, the higher the temperature of your matcha water, the better you'll get a foam. And I believe that just from what I've experienced. I've never done a side-by-side. So I think we're on to something here. The foam looks better than the other one. I know that foam is kind of popping and dissolving a little bit, but this does look better than the first one. That's for sure. So at 15 degrees higher temperature, wow, that's like a different matcha. It's a little bit more punchy. It's almost like cooked green beans now. So the first one was more sweet and smooth and super mellow. This one has some structure to it, some interest. I like this taste, the first one, it's very sweet and I like sweet tastes. But this one has more complex kind of, there's just more going on. The aftertaste hits a lot faster. And yeah, it just tastes more like cooked beans than fresh soybeans. Just like, we've seen this a lot in our tastings before, where sometimes I'll be like, oh my god, that's so good. And then later on I'm like, meh, it's okay. I'm not saying this one isn't good, but this is the kind of tea that immediately is kind of a little bit punchy, so it takes a little bit of time to kind of sink into it. But as I'm letting the tea sit, it's going and going and going and developing. There's a lot of things going on with this cup here that I didn't quite get with this bowl. This is a friendlier bowl of matcha, but this one is more, there's more going on. There's more people in that party right there. There's a little bit of fruitiness, there's a little bit of floral, there's a little bit of vegetal, there's just a lot going on. Just from a 15 degrees Celsius change, around 27, almost 30 degrees. No. Yeah, 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit change here. So 50 degrees Celsius, 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit change. Same person, same amount of tea, same water, different temperature. Which one do I like better? You make a decision as to which one you like better when you test this, but I think this is the better one for people who are starting out with matcha. I find that during my workshops, people are like, oh god, like wow, matcha, that's an experience. Like they get really shocked because of the taste. This one's the friendliest one, so if you have someone who's kind of a little bit scared of the really strong, kind of punchy flavors, if you have a friend who is allergic to anything even a tiny bit bittersweet, that friend who's like, oh, dark chocolate, it's too bitter, like I know it's supposed to be better, but it's too bitter, maybe this one. But that's just my guess. For someone who doesn't know tea, this is going to be friendly for them to try. I don't think this is bad, but I'm just envisioning like all those people who I've kind of shocked with a bowl of matcha. This is probably friendlier for them. Steven's making the grabby hands like this. Can you imagine doing your tea experiment and then just on the corner of your eye you see with your green teeth and everything? Steven, that's disgusting.
And
stop
my
that.
weird ears.
Yeah. But yeah, for those of you joining us, let me know if you have any questions about what we're doing here. Let us know what you're drinking. So far we've had some Yunnan Purple Moonlight White from Jingu. That's what Joe's drinking. And then I think, was it Amy who was drinking the Dianhong? And then now we're drinking matcha. This is, again, the Organic Mia Matcha from sinensis.mx. It's a really, really good matcha. I honestly really like it, especially because it's organic. I find that a lot of the organic matcha on the market, you know, it's kind of hard to find good organic matcha that also tastes extremely good. This one really hits the spot for me. And when I can, I like to buy organic tea or natural tea. It doesn't have to be certified. I just feel really strongly that it just feels better. And I didn't come into tea thinking that. I really didn't. We will still go to Smith's, our grocery store, and buy the cheapest possible produce because we are cheap and, you know, not rolling in dough. But we will shell out the money for natural organic tea. There's also the philosophical kind of, you know, economical, environmental impact side of things, but I honestly think it tastes better. You can really taste the flavor of the leaf more than just whatever the producer used to put into the soil, I think. In Japan especially, a lot of the teas are, they kind of have the help of a lot of like fertilizer and kind of just a lot of help. They got a lot of help in the agricultural process, and that's okay. And that's where we get a lot of the super umami, super brothy teas. That's why you very rarely see organic gyokura, because the leaves suffer so much, they need help. But when you have an organic Japanese tea like this, that still has the flavor because whoever was working with it just knew how to do it, it just makes me very happy because you can still taste the tea and you can still taste the umami without too much, like, I don't know, the volume's not. I think I lost you guys for a second, but I have you back, so welcome back. And then Jess says she's drinking some mild jade oolong since I'm missing Taiwan. I know, us too. We really miss Taiwan. We were there just 4 months ago, but already we're like, Taiwan. And then Delphine is drinking white tea from Colombia. It's sweet and smells peppery. I'm really excited to try their white tea. I've never had their white tea before. I've had tons and tons of their black teas, but not their white teas. And I'm happy that they are seeming to expand a bit and improve a lot on their tea quality. I remember getting their samples really, really, really early on in their tea journey, and they were quite challenging to get through. But no one makes tea perfectly from the very beginning, so I'm really happy they're still around. Amy from Le Bru de l'Eau, is that right? God, save me. Do you keep your matcha in the freezer, fridge, or room temperature? We keep our matcha at room temperature. If I had a fridge, I think I would opt to store it in the fridge that's dedicated only to matcha and tea, because I just can't stand the idea of something getting mixed up. I just can't stand it. I can't stand that, like tea mixed with food smell. I cannot. But it seems to work okay for us. I've seen some experiments done. Gosh, I wish I remember who did the experiment. But they left the matcha in the freezer, in the fridge, and then at room temperature, and they saw a difference. So I think there is a difference, but there's a whole, you know, you gotta wait for the matcha to come to room temperature if you take it out of the fridge kind of thing, and I'm lazy. So I think the best practice is just drink it as soon as possible. Coming from the girl who had the 2012 matcha, by the way, so don't... I'm trying my best. Yeah, I think, but the 2012 matcha was a reminder to me to not do that again, so I don't think it's going to happen again. What about you guys? Where do you store your matcha? Does anyone use a freezer, a fridge, anything fancy you guys do or have tried before? That's something I haven't done a lot of experiments with. I would really like to try it. A mini fridge is in the future, but after the mini apocalypse happens and finishes, I think. Yeah. Soryon96, how's it going? Welcome to the third part of our matcha experiment. Third bowl, you know, we're doing a 90-degree and some change water. I'm gonna make sure it's nice and hot because I want to mimic what my friend Elodie Koyama showed us, which is that you can use quite hot water in order to do it. I'm gonna put at 96 to account for the spout. And Jess, I heard you can feel a constricting or tight feeling in the back of the throat with non-organic teas. Do you feel like you get that feeling as well? You know, the constricting, tight feeling in the back of the throat, I bet whoever said that or feels that way, that's their tell. Like a tell is like, that's how they personally are able to determine if something is organic or non-organic. But I think everyone has a different kind of tell, not just for organic teas or non-organic teas, but Let's say again during our blind tasting, how can you tell if something is high mountain or not high mountain? I can tell you, oh, like it just explodes in the mouth with like a cloud. But that's my tell. If I ask Steven, how do you know if something's organic or not? I mean, high mountain or not? You can just tell.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. Yeah, so if I try to ask someone to have the same tell as me, sometimes I can teach them, but a lot of the time we're just so different in the way we perceive things that it's not always the same. So I don't have that feeling, Jess, when I drink non-organic teas. I usually get like a headache or a stomach ache of some sort. Mostly the headache. I just don't feel good. And that's something that I'm just sharing honestly from my experience. I don't sell tea. I don't earn any commissions at all from promoting any person's tea or not promoting anyone's tea. And I try to make that like a rule so that if I tell you something, you're not like, Rhea should say that because so-and-so. I really believe it. It just feels better. Yeah, and when something's heavily conventional, heavily pesticide treated or fertilizer treated, I can feel depressed or I can feel really uncomfortable. That's not to say there are not some organic or natural teas that can make you feel uncomfortable too, but the worst of the worst for me is like a highly pesticide fertilizer treated tea that's also not made well. Like that combo is just disastrous, you know? The worst I can think of is probably like shou pu'er from Yunnan province that's been like monocultured, fertilizer, pesticide, and then they compost it the way they do shou pu'er. They're just like shit upon shit, and then you just feel like shit. So that's been the worst teas I've had. Yeah, it's not good. But if you don't feel it, I don't ask people to feel it. I've done classes where we do side-by-sides of conventional teas versus low intervention teas of different levels, like maybe they're biodynamic or maybe they just don't use fertilizer. There's different levels and people seem to tell the difference. People have different kinds of tells, people have different kinds of feelings, and some people just don't care and can't feel it. It just depends on you, you know? So while I feel strongly about it, I never like tell people, why are you drinking that? You know, snatch that out. Oh, get that shit out of here. Stupid. Okay, ready for this last one? So 3 turns. 1, 2, we're steaming. Oh, okay. Just let me know if that answers your question. All right. And we're whisking. It certainly feels different whisking. I don't know why. It feels like I have more clumps in my... I don't know if I just didn't do the paste right or something. Okay, it's coming together. There we go. It smells amazing. So this is the only one where I can really, like the smell of the matcha is just hitting really, really hard right now. All the way up here. I mean, it's not all the way up here because I'm all of like 5 foot. That's another thing I need to do metric on. 5'1" is how many cm? Whew.
45.
45 already? Are you serious?
So slow down now.
Okay.
Seven, 8, 9, 1 minute.
That's bouncy. Wow. This is the bounciest one for sure. It's got like a life of its own going on. See, Steven, you want to see it jiggle? It's jiggling. I'm not sure you guys can see it jiggle, but it's definitely jiggling. It's got more like rhythm than I do. That's for sure. Wow, okay. Whew! Wow! Wow! Goodness. That's like a matcha attack. Wow. That's like early morning matcha right there. Wow. Okay, let me give this a second. Let me say hello while I wait for this to settle down. Carol VMX and Christine Steiner. Hannah, how's it going? And Chalk Crusade, how's it going? Welcome to this bowl of matcha that I've brewed at, or whisked at 94 degrees Celsius. I want to go a little bit higher, closer to boiling, to try to emulate or just test just how far we could push the matcha. We started off with 2 other bowls, 60 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Celsius, and then 90 plus degrees Celsius. Again, I wanted to push it because basically I just want to see where the temperature is taking the tea. And this one is extremely potent. This is very potent. It definitely frothed up the best. I don't think I frothed it very well because I had some clumps stuck to my whisk, so that kind of threw me off. But for the fact that I probably whisked it the worst in terms of my own technique, it frothed up just as well as this one. So it's easier to froth, I think, even with imperfect technique. And at first it's very punchy. Like, whew, oh my god, that's like springtime hit you in the face, basically. But afterwards, the sweetness is so rich. It's almost like a Taiwanese oolong in terms of the creaminess and the sweetness that comes out. So this one is for y'all like aftertaste junkies. If you really like tea aftertaste, I think you will really like this bowl. It's the one that is for like a split second, really kind of bitter sweet, but in a very kind of awakening way. It's not unpleasant. It's not super easy, that's for sure. But after that, it just flows into this really gorgeous aftertaste and finish, and it just keeps going. And it does have a kind of throat sensation down here. So aftertaste junkies, y'all, this is your tea. Yeah, it's extremely filling, extremely just sweet. Interestingly, remember that soybean thing going on here? I can taste it here, but not here. Like, the soybean flavor here becomes soybean aftertaste there, which is interesting. Amy so kindly telling me how much I am in metric. 155 cm. That sounds like a lot. It's better than 5 feet or 155 centimeters. I'll take the 155 centimeters. It's a lot of centimeters. And then Soyeon's asking, what matcha are you drinking? It's this Mie matcha. I believe Mie is a part of Uji. It's like a lesser known Uji matcha. Steven, stop whining. It's a dog. So it's Mie matcha. It's an organic matcha from my friend Salvador in Tijuana in Mexico. His company is sinensis.mx. Really, really good matcha. Organic matcha that actually has flavor. Hey Bella, come here. Bella's like crying. Why are you guys taking so long with the experiment? Hi Bella. Say hi to everyone. So yeah. And then finally we will do a side-by-side of all of these. I know that this one's cooled down the most. This one's more warm. I wanted to try them first as they were and then do a side-by-side. Let me drink some water first though. If you have any questions again about the experiment, let me know. And y'all, Puer Challenge is happening! Less than 48 hours, oh my goodness. You scared?
I'm ready.
I'm ready too. We also ordered some puers. I think Amy, you said that you ordered some new puers as well. We'll see. Amy, that's for 5'1". Yes, I am 5'1". I'd like to say I'm 5'1.5", but I don't think that's how it works. That's why centimeters are better. I can own every single centimeter I want. Dollytron, how's it going? Let's compare together these matchas, which have been brewed at or prepared at 3 different levels of heat. We're looking at taste, aroma, overall experience. So this is the one that's been prepared at 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. You guys will recognize this as a very common one for gyokuro. So gyokuro is really often prepared at this temperature here. Oh wow, that's just really umami. That's like soybean ice cream. That's just delicious. I can't help but really like that because I really like sweet things. Let me whisk that up to kind of get the powder from the bottom. Delicious. But the aftertaste is not as prominent on this one as it is on the other ones. So this one is like big over here, like, wow, it tastes like soybean ice cream, amazing, it's so sweet and umami, and then it dies. It's not to say there's no aftertaste, but compared to the other two, this one doesn't have as much aftertaste to it. Steven, confirm.
The first one?
The first one, yeah. So that's the coolest one. And what's happening there is supposedly cooler water will, you know, be better for umami extraction. I'm not sure if that's how it works with powder though, because the powder's all in there. I don't know why it's causing it to taste less intense with matcha. We talked a lot about infusion with tea leaves and how temperature affects the way that, you know, compounds are infused. But this here, matcha, the tea leaves are already inside, so I don't know how the temperature is affecting the way those particles behave. If any of you guys know or have any ideas, even if you're not 100% sure, let me know. And I see Mike from the Tea Letter and K.Vence. Yeah. How's it going from Las Vegas? Bella, stop biting my hands. Stop biting my hands. Come here. Come here. Yeah. Come say hi. This is my dog. Isn't she cute? What's that green stuff? Is that food? It's not food. That's matcha. You're so curious. Alright. Next one. This is the 75-degree water. Okay. So even if the tea has cooled down already, there's still that flavor of cooked green beans. This is like fresh sweet beans, and this is like cooked green beans. So just that 15 degrees Celsius jump, or almost 30 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Fahrenheit jump, makes this taste more bittersweet, more vegetal, more balanced though. It really is more balanced. I know it's cliche to say it's the one that's in the middle of the two, but tea makes sense, you know? It's kind of the one that's in the middle of the two. What's awesome though is that the aftertaste here is very, very nice. So it does taste nice in the beginning, but it doesn't just drop off. It goes from flavor into an aftertaste, which is quite sweet. So it's got the best of both worlds. It is sweet on the aftertaste. This one though is absolutely the best aftertaste. You just have to get over that initial kind of like, boom, matcha, we're here, dude. Let's see if it's still there. Ooh, boom, yeah, we're still here, dude. This is matcha prepared at a little bit over 90 degrees Celsius, so quite hot. To note, I probably most of my matcha life have prepared matcha around this level here, but I've since done more boiling water or a little bit below boiling water matcha over the last year or so, after being challenged to test it out by my friend Elodie, who practices tea in Japan. And yeah, it's just amazing, number one, that it's even palatable, because I think up until that point, I was like, oh my god, if you boil matcha, the world's gonna end, it's gonna be incredibly bitter and undrinkable. And it exists like that for a reason, because most of the matcha we get from like the grocery store, Whole Foods, or, you know, not your best matcha places, you can't do this to. But with a really good matcha like this one, you know, the one from sinensis.mx, it's good. It's very intense, to be sure. And I've had some matcha that can stand up even with this kind of like higher degree of temperature. But the aftertaste is just so good. So you get hit in the face in the beginning, so boom, but then it just blossoms into this really nice aftertaste. And Mike saying the effect of the matcha with the hot water should be the same. Should still be the same. He says the powder is still experiencing a chemical reaction just like loose leaf. So there you go. It does match up with what we know about loose leaf. If it's the same thing, then the umami, like things that cause bitterness, are going to be extracted less with lower temperature. So from what I understand, the things in tea that cause umami and sweetness will come out just fine at a lower temperature. What stops is or slows down is the bitter compound. So umami is pretty stable, relatively stable, you know, not a chemist, but umami is pretty stable. What we're doing with the hot water is the amount of bitterness, okay? And tea isn't so much about just this, it's the balance of the bitterness with the umami and sweetness. And so when we're doing really, really hot temperature, the higher bitterness and complex compounds we're extracting more of them. This one's a little bit here, and then this one's a little bit here. So we're letting that kind of like sweetness come through, the umami texture come through. That's what I understand it to be. Any chemists, any tea, seeing a lot of tea experts over here, let us know if that's the correct interpretation. But that's how I understand it to be. It seems to go pretty well when I'm trying to bring out a certain flavor from the cup. Now again, I'd like for you guys to test this at home, for you guys. You'll have your own personal preference as to what type you'd like to use, what temperature you'd like to use. For me, this is extra important because I teach that modern matcha workshop that I told you about. And I usually use this level of water here, but even at this level of water, the 75 degrees Celsius, 167 degrees Fahrenheit. Some beginners can be very like, oh my god, that's really intense. It's like tea espresso. Two things happen. Either they have another bowl because I force them to. They're with me for 2 hours, so they're gonna have like 3-4 bowls of matcha. They try it again and they actually start liking it. And they're like, oh wow, like at first it was a little bit intense for me. I was kind of nervous about my friend inviting me to this because I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but usually there's like the tea friend and then they bring their other friend with them who's like, yeah, I'm game, but they're not really as into tea. So it takes them a little bit to get used to that kind of like intense thing going on. If you have someone who's allergic to that bittersweetness, this one goes by better. The 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Celsius. Does it taste like gyokuro? It certainly has some of those qualities. It's very sweet, very smooth. I personally like it. I'm a big aftertaste junkie, but I just like sweet so much. I'm pretty impressed by this. Yeah, it's just so sweet, and just that soybean thing going on is really interesting. Of course, the notes that you get will be different based on the matcha, but I'm torn. It's like I like all of these. You know, I like aftertaste, but I like sweetness and I like balance. I guess that's why it's good to have a daily matcha practice, so you can do different things on different days, you know? So Mike, I hope that, you know, that was pretty close. Yes, we often use 90 degrees Celsius in chanoyu. The kettle can be pretty hot. I had no idea, so I had to, you know, get the advice from Elodie on that, and that's why I really, really, really feel passionate about this group learning, because it could just take one person to be like, hey, by the way, have you tried something just a little bit different? And then I'm like, okay, but let me tell you how many people have messaged me being like, oh, you know, matcha is supposed to be like 176 degrees Fahrenheit only, kind of thing. Why is that? Or not even why is that, but like, you shouldn't use that for green tea. And I get it, because that's what most of us type on the internet when we're writing about tea is, oh, green tea, you need to drop the temperature. It's just, yeah. I think what needs to be taught isn't so much temperature, but the ability to taste and rely on taste, you know, to actually make your own decisions. Because some people will hate this. Let me tell you, some people really hate this. It's very intense. I like it, but we've been drinking tea for a long time, you know. I think for my purposes, I'd probably lower it just a couple more degrees. That, or maybe even lower the amount of water. Because I don't know why this is. Mike, if you're still here, I hope you can help us answer this question or give a guess. I find that sometimes when matcha has less water, it becomes sweeter than if it has more water. Like if you just like use less water as possible to make the foam, it becomes more rich and creamy. You would think that if you put more water, you dilute the bitterness, but it feels like it becomes more bitter if you add more water. Let's test it right now, actually. What am I talking about? We can ask, I don't mind asking Mike either, but let's see if it changes the way that these taste. It will reduce the intensity, but I feel like it becomes more bitter. Is that true? I don't know why. Let's try it out. Let's try it out. But we're not drinking chai, so... See, that did become more bitter. What is that? Why is that going on? I don't understand. And then our friends who just came in, Tigram Sweden, Salam, how's it going? And Shiloh from Neverorden. And M. Pfeiffer? Yeah? How's it going? Welcome to the final bit of our matcha experiment today. Delphine says, now mix them. Okay, let's try it. And Shiloh says, mix the matcha into the gyokuro. I have made gyokuro with matcha before. It was very tasty. I think for those of you who tried the matcha whisked in tea before, so far the only significant breakthroughs we've gotten are matchas that are mixed in with other green teas. Everything else has been, you know, maybe obviously, but at least we tested it. Kind of a flop. It's all tea, so you figure it might not be that horrendous, but so far it's just been green tea as a base with matcha. I've seen some people use like basic yabuhita just to kind of just boost the green tea flavor. We've done gyokuro before. I've never tried kabuse sencha yet. We'll see. Yeah. I have done it. So Shiloh, you're telling me not to do it because I might die. I've done it. It's actually very tasty. Very luxurious. Probably got a little bit L-theanine drunk.
Was that the one that was really hard to get the foam from though?
That's true. We've noticed that different kinds of tea that you whisk in will tend to change the ease of the foam. But then someone pointed out it might be because the gyokuro was brewed at a lower temperature, and that's why the foam wasn't coming out. So it's stuff to figure out. I'm not quite sure. So Delphine, here's your mixed mixed matcha that you asked me to do. Let's see how it goes. I'm actually curious to see how this tastes like. Thanks for the idea. C'est tout bon. It's good. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of what you'd expect. It's kind of in the middle, which is nice. Now I'm kind of sad. I wish I mixed the one in the middle with the one on the side, because those are the ones that I wanted to like bring out the aftertaste of this one and bring some more sweetness, or maybe just make something in the middle, temperature-wise. Yeah. Martin from Reed, 80 degrees. We were at 75 degrees today. Pretty close. And Mizayen, welcome. And then Mike says he brews with 2 ounces of water. That's 60 ml, I think. It might be the bitter compounds are more noticeable. Yeah, it might be that. The more water there is, the more the bitter compounds are able to kind of like whisk around in our mouths. I'm not sure. Yeah. Christine Steiner, jasmine silver needle mixed with matcha is good too. I haven't tried jasmine silver needle specifically. I tried jasmine green tea pearls, which are kind of close to white tea. You know, they seem very, very, very light. But yes, I'd like to do more herbal tea mixed with matcha. I know that sounds ridiculous, but after the jasmine green tea base with the matcha, that's probably my favorite still. And I just want to see what other kinds of like flavors we can come up with, because I was just impressed by the level of flavor and balance that came out of the jasmine tea base with matcha. Like, really, sincerely, really, really, really impressed. Yeah. And then Shiloh tried the Shanlin Shi as a base. That's insane. I tried that as well. Didn't work out for me, but maybe we might have to try a different tea, because I did a Jinshuen that was just okay. Yeah. Martin says 75 degrees in Fahrenheit is 167 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes! Okay, cool. This has been fun, so thank you so much for joining us today for the last 2 days of tea practice for the Puer Challenge! We're the Welp Here We Go camp. I know a lot of you were the finally some goddamn Puer camp. We really hope to learn from you. Honestly, Puer is the category of tea that I know the least about. I'm really excited to get some testing done, some exploring. Trust me, every single day, me and Steven wake up and we're like, man, we're gonna do some Puer soon. This morning we were like, do we do more matcha purchasing or do we do more Puer purchasing? I'm like, Steven, the Puer challenge is coming up. We gotta do some Puer, right? So, just to be clear, it's not like we don't like it. We just find ourselves reaching for other things more, whether it's because of the time or the cost. But it's good to break down these preconceived notions, I think, of what we like typically, you know? So yeah, thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow, there's a Discord hangout in the evening. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Join us there, please. Maybe we'll do some language practice, right? We'll see. Let me know how your experiments go with this. And see you soon tomorrow for one more tea practice, and on Wednesday for the